Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another video. This time I have my mother, not my brother, and I'm going to be asking her similar questions in my previous video since you guys liked it so much. However, because she's my mom, she knows me a lot better than most people do. So I did rearrange the questions a bit, and this will be another learning experience. You'll learn more things about me that you probably did not know, much less probably didn't want to know. What was I like as a child?
Well, I would say that Daniel was very curious. He was, from the time he was just a little guy toddling around, he was always looking under rocks for bugs and exploration and just very curious about nature in general. And so he was a lot of fun. He had such an imagination, and he just loved all kinds of animals, reptiles, and he loved, even at a young age, he loved the guy, the Irwin guy. Steve Irwin. He loved the...
Good eye, mate.
Yes, he just loved him, and he even did a play one time when he was real little of him being Steve Irwin and having the neighbor kids, and they were all his loyal subjects. It was pretty funny, but that was, he was very curious and adventuresome young boy. Very humorous at times as well. Very innocent. He had very serious questions that he would ask. That was very, just very genuine and very innocent. One in particular, his brother John, of course, teased him unmercifully. And we would drive past this area, it's a wooded area, and his brother told him that all these crazy people, bad people hung out in the woods, and his brother taught him a new word called maniac. And so every time we drive past these woods, he goes, "Mom, do the maniacs live in there? Do they kill people?" And he was so disturbed about the maniacs that lived in the woods. And the other thing is his brother would tell him is, well, up in the mountains, people freeze to death and die up in the mountains. So when he would see beautiful Mount Rainier, he would say, "Do people die up there? Do they freeze up there?" And of course we'd assure him, yeah, it's possible. So those were some of the funny things as a kid. He was just very curious and very gullible to what his brother told him.
Even at a young age, I was always asking questions about death. As morbid as that sounds, she can be a testimony to that. What was your most funniest memory of me?
Well, I have several, but I think the first one was when he was about, maybe 5 or 6. We were over visiting some new friends, and there was a boy that was a little older than him, and he had 2 sisters. And he was he was the youngest one of the family, so his sisters were used to giving him everything he wanted. And Daniel was looking at some book, I Spy book or something that this young boy had, and the boy just walked over and took it away from Daniel. And right in front of the parents and everybody, Daniel took the book back away from the kid that had just taken it from him and hit him over the head with it and walked off. And the kid just...
I bashed him hard, too.
Over the head. And it's like, we were just stunned. And of course, another sweet memory is one time we had some friends over, and their little girl was the same age as Daniel. Her name was Stephanie, and they were good friends. And they were in the bedroom playing while the parents were out visiting, and all of a sudden, we hear this, we run down the hall, and Daniel's sitting so sweetly on his toy box, just smiling with his hands full like a little angel. We said, "Where's Stephanie?" And he's going like this, and he had put her in the toy box, and he was sitting in the toy box, her stuck in the toy box. And of course, that was very naughty of him, and she was probably terrified, but once he let her out, I don't know if he kissed her or she kissed him, but it was pretty funny. And of course we were afraid they'd never be our friends again, but they forgave him. But that was definitely a fun one.
I have no recollection of doing that.
Oh, you did it, and we were so embarrassed. But we were just so innocent looking, sitting there. Then another thing he did, this is gross, but prepare yourself. Daniel was always a thirsty little boy when he would go to bed at night. And so he'd always ask for a glass of water or a glass of apple juice before bed. And so I was glad to get it for him. Well, one day, I got up the next morning, and I had given him a glass of apple juice the night before. And there the glass was just full as it could be. And I thought, that's strange. I wonder why he didn't drink his apple juice. So not paying much attention, he wasn't in the room, and so I just picked up the glass, thought, oh, he didn't drink it. So I took a big slurp of the apple juice, and that little bugger had peed in the cup. And do you know how apple juice and pee look identical? Well, needless to say, I choked on that. And I was so upset. I couldn't believe that he peed in his cup. And of course, that one, now looking back, was pretty funny. But at the time, I was not happy.
You're probably the only legitimate mother who has actually drank their son's pee.
Yes, isn't that amazing? I could go in the world's book of world records. But anyway.
When were you most proud of me?
One of the things that his brother and him mentioned is I was proud of him that he took a week of his time and served some seniors. That was a very, for a teenager to give of their time to elderly people that were very needy and needed someone to help them. And I mean, even taking them to the bathroom, it was quite
yeah, that's a memory I do not want to relive again.
But the fact that he'd be willing to help these seniors showed me, the quality of heart that he has. And I was very, very proud of him that he would be willing to do that. And then also the most recent thing that he's done with last May was he gave 3 weeks of his life. He flew to Morocco and he built homes for people that were the poorest of poor. And just to be able to give his time and to work with these people and show that he cared about them and that he wanted to help them. And even though, they had nothing, he was willing to do that. They couldn't understand why someone would come this far to do that for them, and they were very grateful. So that was probably the most recent thing that he's done that has made both his dad and I very proud of him.
What do you think of me making YouTube videos?
Well, I think it's a great opportunity to, make your voice known, your opinions, and obviously it's helped a lot of people that have gone through some very similar things as you have, and it's helped them to have hope. It's helped them to keep on keeping on, and I think that I'm just very proud that he's been able to help people in that way and let people know that they're not the only one out there that goes through difficult times, but you can get through it and you can become stronger, and I'm very proud of him for that.
Something that I do that annoys you?
Well, I think it's not just one thing, but
I'm sure there are lots of things.
Nothing that I can't live with, but one of the things he particularly does in the morning after he has his breakfast, it's nice that he rinses off his dish and puts it in the dishwasher. That's great, but he never remembers to clean out the sink. He leaves the food in the strainer to sit there till either it hardens or Mom cleans it. So I guess that's probably one thing that's just a very small annoyance about himself. And then he's also very hard on himself. That annoys me, that he's very, very hard on himself. Very, very critical of himself.
What is something that I obsess over?
Well, I think you obsess over, probably not feeling like that anyone would ever care for you, which isn't true. But you seem to think that no one would ever care for you or want to have a long-term relationship with you, which isn't true. You have many, many good qualities. And like I said, you're hard on yourself, so you obsess about the things that you can't do versus all the other things, millions of things that you can do and do well.
What would you change if you could raise me again?
Oh, several things. I made a lot of mistakes. My other two children tell me that I should have disciplined him more. But he got lots of.
I got more spankings than anyone in our family.
But what I didn't know, he enjoyed getting pain. So I didn't realize that. I didn't realize he liked being spanked. So it wasn't like I was doing anything. I should have probably
early
taken
BDSM.
Away. What I should have done is taken away his video games for eternity till he made right what he did wrong with some of his siblings. That would probably have been more effective than grounding him or putting him, giving him a swat on the rear end. That would probably have been better because they tell me that even we tried to discipline, it didn't seem to make much difference because we weren't taking away the right things away from him to change the behavior. Well, and maybe I looking back and the kind of person that Daniel is, I may have, looking at it now, hindsight, I think maybe I would have considered by 7th or 8th grade is maybe put him in public school so he would have had more opportunities for, just socially getting to know more people that way because he really is an entrepreneur, and just like even with the videos, he got in on the early end of making videos when everybody else was doing other things, he took advantage of that and has actually become very successful in it. And that takes a lot of perseverance and hard work. And so I think maybe, I don't know, we had a lot of advantages in home education, but also there was also things that probably I would like to maybe seen him go to his first prom, things like that, that as a homeschooler you just don't think about till it's, too late. So I guess those are the things I probably would have changed if I could have to make it more enjoyable for him.
What type of woman do you see me being with?
Wow, that's a loaded question.
That is a loaded question.
Well, I think one.
But you know probably more so than anybody.
Yeah. Well, someone that can look beyond his sarcasm, because he's very sarcastic, but he doesn't really mean it like, you have to understand where he's coming from. He uses sarcasm, but he's saying something different than the sarcasm. Sometimes when people hear him with sarcasm, think, oh, how can he say that? That's not really what he's saying. He needs a woman that understands that part of him, that knows him really well, that has a really a positive, bubbly personality that would be a compliment to him, and also would encourage him to be all that he can be, because sometimes he gets pretty down on himself, and he needs someone to see his value, because he is a very valuable young man, and one day he's going to make a very, very good match for somebody. And so that's what I see as a woman that needs to be sensitive, understands his needs. He's a person that loves to please. He loves to please, and if he can please someone, he'll go up without anything for himself if he can make someone else happy, and especially a future mate. I think he would be wonderful to do his very best to satisfy and make someone a very happy person.
To satisfy.
Well, in many ways,
no,
not just
I
one
know
area.
What you mean, but
Yes.
you know me very
yes,
well.
Yes, that's all I'm saying, is that he'll go beyond the call of duty to try to make a person happy. Not that that's his job, but because he desires to please. I think that's a good combination for someone that appreciates what he's willing to do to have a good and wholesome relationship.
And the final question, what is my greatest flaw?
Well, that's pretty obvious. I think your viewers would agree that you're too hard on yourself. You're a hard worker. You're almost a workaholic. You work constantly, making videos, and you think, which sometimes you need to turn your brain off and just let yourself be a person rather than always thinking things out to the point where you drive yourself crazy. But you are too hard on yourself. You have a lot to offer our world in insight. You have a lot of discernment. You can kind of read and see through people if they're just trying to get to know you because they want to become famous because they know you. You can see you have a lot of discernment. And one of your faults is you're just too hard on yourself. And just every day to get up and be thankful for all the qualities that you do have. And you are kind. You might not come across as being kind and merciful, but deep inside you really are. And you put on Mr. Tough Guy attitude, but deep in your heart, you're very sensitive and very caring. And not a lot of people know that because they don't get to know you as a real person, just as someone that's on YouTube. So I think that would be the thing that I wish that was different about you, is you wouldn't be so hard on yourself, and just be thankful for the many good qualities that you have, and that you care about what people go through. You care about that, and you're willing to make a difference. And to me, that's great.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow reptiles. You have now learned a little piece of me that you probably didn't know through YouTube. Thank you, Mom, for coming on the camera and showing yourself and giving your time to 140,000 some people. I appreciate it, and I'm sure they do too. Thank you guys very, very much.